So what are we going to talk about today? We've got some great speakers here. Robert is our CTO of Double Day Systems. He had a really good overview of a lot of detail with what cybersecurity is and what you need to do and how you can do that. Our Chief Operating Officer, Bob Miller, is going to have one after me that goes into even more detail about security maturity and things like that. And then tomorrow he's a keynote speaker talking about high-level leaders and C-suite people and how they need to look at cybersecurity in their business organization. For me, I live this, so I wanted to bring it back down to some very simple terms, not because I think anybody here is extremely intelligent, but because I know that you're having to communicate this to people that write checks, that have budgets. And you're having to explain this sometimes with them in a way that they can get it. Okay, so we're going to break it down to some very key areas in what I would call the beginning of understanding your security environment and what you can do, and talk about it in layman's terms so that you can communicate it with people that maybe don't know every acronym that's been created in the past 24 hours. Okay, so what server? Whose server? Our server. Something happened on a box in your environment. Business is in decay. The dumpster fire has occurred, right? You got to be able to describe that. Who's been sleeping in my bed? Somebody's in your network. We don't know who, we don't know how, we don't know when, but it's happened, right? All the king's horses and all the king's men. That has happened. How do you put all the pieces back together? What do you do? How do we get there? What should we have done in advance? And then business risk jingo, because cybersecurity is tied to your business revenue, whether you like it or not. And you're having to make choices in your budget stack of wooden pieces and leadership choices. And as you pull those things out and decide that's not important, eventually it's all going to fall over, right? So you got to figure out what to do with that. You can't protect what you don't know about. I'm making some general statements here, but I'll stand by it so you can fight me in the parking lot later. There's an 80% chance that the organizations that are represented that's going to grace the doors of this building over the next few days do not have a detailed and up-to-date inventory of all hardware and software in use required for business operation, including third-party infrastructure embedded in the enterprise. You don't know what you have. And when you start looking for it, it's going to be up. The odds are worse that the center of gravity, or those centers of gravity, have not been identified. Assets that would shut business completely down, where they're taken offline, but under attack, hijacked or ransomed by bad actors. So you've got a bunch of stuff, hardware, software, racks, computers, all that's running your business. 80% of companies don't know what they have. And less than that, understand what pieces of that puzzle, if they were taken away, would shut you down. Shut the door, send everybody home, you couldn't do business. Why is that important? Well, it's important because the only way you can keep anything in life organized is having an inventory that you have. If you don't know, for instance, how many kids you have, and you leave one at Walmart and go home, that's not going to be good for you. Making the obvious painfully obvious. So you're going to love my spiffy comments, but it is obvious when you think about it. What's the most obvious part of solving any problem? It's understanding the depth and width of the problem. So inventory management is the cheapest and most impactful security activity your business can start right now. The cheapest thing your company can do, because you've all heard budgets and money and we can't buy that, and no, that's a shiny new toy and you can't have it and all that stuff. The cheapest thing your organization or company or you can do for yourself to identify or begin down the road of security management or security risk management is to know what you have. And you can do that with the staff you have right now. You can do it with a pencil and paper. You can begin down that road of understanding what you have. You're going to do it and you're going to be shocked and mortified at what you find out. Because once you understand where all the pieces and the parts, the servers, the endpoints, the network endpoints, the routes are at, what software is running across your network, in and out of your network, your third-party connections. Once you really get that in front of you, in kind of a mind map, it's going to scare you, because you're going to see legacy IT that you didn't know still existed. You're going to see an AS400 still online with tape drives. You're going to see email accounts that have never been deleted, user accounts in AD that should not be there. You're going to see shadow IT. You're going to see Wi-Fi access points with admin. You're going to see all the bad. But you see it, and it's the cheapest way you can begin down the road for security. Now you know. Now you're bad, you're upset, you've seen it, you've done the project, you look at it, and knowing is only half the battle. Now you know where everything's at. Now you have to sit down and with a team and with, HR, finance, the rest of the departments, and decide how do we do business? What are our centers of gravity? You've got 25 servers that do work for you. Which one of those, or which 5 of those, could you do without? And what 5 or 10 or 2 could you absolutely not do without? The ones that make sure that your accounting system's on, that all of your HR PII is on, your controllers for a process in the plant, where that one PLC controller goes down, it shuts the facility down. You can do no further work. A router that gives you internet access or remote access from your workers into your environment. If it goes down and 80% of your workforce can't come to work that day, what do you do? You got to find your centers of gravity. A lot of people use the term crown jewels, what's the most important to you, those kind of things. I like to use the phrase centers of gravity, because what you'll begin to find out is that once you say, we know this server or this device is the most critical thing in our enterprise, you begin to see how gravity revolves around it. How all your operations, your processes, your people revolve around that mass, that most important mass in your environment. So find your centers of gravity. Then establish a vulnerability and risk management assessment program. So you went out, you had the come to Jesus meeting with yourself and your staff or your leadership. We got to know what we got. Then you've identified what's the most important things, your centers of gravity. Then you got to figure out what's vulnerable about that thing. What about that box, that device, is most vulnerable and could be exploited? And what will it do to the risk of the business? Because that server that just makes sure the coffee is on time every week doesn't matter as much as this remote access server for accounting. And who cares if the coffee server goes away? That's a very low risk problem. Maybe. This accounting server is key to risk for your whole organization. If it blows up, burns up, gets stolen, whatever, gets hacked, gets cracked, and it goes away, that's the biggest risk to your organization, especially if you can't get it back. So I like to start talking about security in a way that people can actualize it in their brain. So let's think of it like this. Let's pick up your home that you have today, that you've worked your whole life for, your family, your home, all your cats and dogs. You pick it up, if you could, hypothetically, and stick it in the most high crime neighborhood in the United States. Pick it up and stick it there. Okay? This is how you can rationalize when you talk to people about your business risk. What would you do if that happened to you? You woke up one morning and you're, pick the neighborhood, Kosovo, okay? Your house gets picked up and put in Kosovo. But what's the first thing you gotta do? You gotta establish some situational awareness. You gotta know what the bad is. You gotta know where everything's at. You gotta inventory what's going on around me. What do I have? What do I not have? Right? The next thing you're going to do is, man, we need to change all the locks, right? We need to clean everything up. We need to lock the doors. We need to change the locks. We need to fix the windows. We need to put maybe some grading over the windows. It's the same thing you got to do for your company. You got to know what bad is. You got to know that your company lives in a high crime neighborhood every day. People are trying to get to you every day. You've inventoried everything. Then you have to find ways to secure that. You have to find ways to prevent bad actors from taking your things, from taking away your livelihood. You have to get eyes on. So now you've inventoried everything, you've locked everything, but you need to be able to see what's going on around you. You need to be able to see your network. You need to be able to see who's logging in and out of your network, who has the most access and privilege to your network. How are they coming and going? How do you allow them to come and go, right? You got to get eyes on everything. You need to get threat informed. And if it's not you, hire somebody that is threat informed. There is no expectation that, I don't know, somebody here may have a multi-billion-dollar donut company, and you make the best donut companies, donuts in the world. Your business is donuts. You're Krispy Kreme, okay? Your job is making donuts. You're an expert in making donuts. That doesn't mean you have to be an expert at security, but you got to hire somebody. You have to hire somebody so they can inform you of the threats, of what's going on, what to do with that threat, how to act against that threat, protect against that threat. But you need somebody that can do what you need them to do in the next fact. Find good neighbors. What does that mean for you? In that situation, you're in Kosovo, you want to look around and find out who you can depend on. Like maybe get to know the police there, maybe get to know your next door neighbor, work together to secure your neighborhood, help yourself be in a better situation. In a company's environment, an organizational environment, it's finding good partners, finding good vendors, working with other people in your niche or your vertical to understand the threat that is specific to your vertical. Maybe there's a specific thing that happens to donut servers that you need to know about. You don't know about that until you get all the donut guys in the room and talk about what happened to you. You got to get good neighbors, good partners, experts. It takes a village to secure a company. Have a kid, I think what everything. Here's some truth about breaches, exploits, etc. You are always in one of these three states of existence. Bad actors are targeting you. You are being exploited somewhere in your enterprise, or you are in breach recovery. Period. That is your three states of existence in your enterprise, your network. I guarantee you right now, there are people here that monitor firewalls and see constant DDoS attacks against their firewall every day. They're not just doing that because it's fun. They're waiting for you to screw up. So you're living in one of those three states. You're never living in a static state where everything's fine, nothing's broken, everybody done what they were supposed to do, everything's patched, everybody is using the right MFA, everybody changed their passwords last month. You're never living there. They know that, and they're always targeting. The other thing about that static, or those states of existence, is now you know, and you cannot unknow this fact. You cannot leave here and then say to the world, I didn't know it was that bad. Now you do. Now you know it's that bad. Every day. Worse than that, even when you sleep, they're still doing it. 24/7, 365. They're trying. Now they might be trying a little less, harder on you than they would be a nation state, or maybe it's an espionage situation and they're not targeting you yet, or maybe it's just some script kiddies or a mafioso type hacker group. But eventually they'll get around you. They'll come for the low-hanging fruit, and they will get to you, and you will exist in one of those three states. Your leadership needs to understand that. I accept it every day. It is what it is. That's why Robert talked about so many security jobs being open. If you were in the high crime neighborhood we just talked about, and people were banging on your doors and windows every night, trying to get in, Wouldn't you hope that you had done all the things we're talking about now? You understood it, you knew this, you knew which state you were in, how to protect yourself, what to do with the problem, yada, yada, yada. The first step is admitting the problem, which we just did. We just shared a moment. We all admitted it's a problem, right? So what do? You're going to go home, you're going to go back to your business or your job or your leadership, and you're going to tell them these things, and you will not return as a conquering hero. They will not pat you on the back and say, I'm so glad you let me know how our situation is. Thank you for telling me that. They're not going to do that. But you told them the truth. You admit there's a problem, and now we have to work on it. Now we got to start somewhere. And the cheapest place to start is inventorying the network. Inventorying our software and hardware. We can start here, boss. Some facts. The bad guys never sleep. Let's forget it. They do not care about your budget. Never known a hacker group, and I've watched them quite a bit on dark web, because they literally have companies. They have a help desk, they have an HR, they have an accounting. They act like an MSP in the dark web. What you never see in their chat rooms is, man, I don't know if we should screw with these guys. Their budget wasn't good enough this year. Never saw that. If they're smart, they're watching your capital investments. If they're real smart, they're sharks. They're watching your capital investments and see what you don't put in your infrastructure security, and they come for you hard. That's what they do. That's how they make their money. Your digital identity does not stay at the office when you go home. You have a job, a title at Business Code. You go home. That's where they get you. LinkedIn, Facebook, Tweetgram, Shaky McNeek, well, all the things, all the stuff, okay? That's where they get you. They find you there, and they ping you, or they dish you. You get a text from your grandson. Hey, Pop, I need that new bicycle. Could you just send me an Amazon gift card? That's how they get you, right? So your identities in both worlds don't stay static at your home or your corporate office. They traverse that on your iPhone, all your devices, apparently your microwave now. Everything has an attack. They only have to be right once. We, security guys, stay up 24 hours a day, 365, pushing at the gates in any way we can. And you as IT professionals are out there pushing against the gates. You got your toe in that hole, you got your fingers over here, you're doing everything you can. All they have to do is go, oh, look at that. And in they go. They only got to be right once. So it's not, understand that you're in a situation that's daunting. And it's not if, it's when. And it's never your fault if you're doing everything you can and your company is taking it seriously. If you've got adults running your business and your organization and they're taking it serious, you've done the best you can. But again, in none of the chat rooms, they go, man, they're trying hard. We should leave them alone. They never say that. Every 39 seconds, a cyber attack occurs somewhere in the United States. Now, I didn't say breach, I said attack. Every 39 seconds. I would stretch that out and say there are multiple millions of attacks happening every 39 seconds in the United States, in commerce, okay? In the US, breaches cost an average of $9.44 million. I don't know why they put the 44, round it down, say 9, but that's what they say, okay? Now, what does that mean? There's a loss to, you're breached, door shut down. There's a loss to your operations. You work to get it resolved. There's a cost to get it resolved. You work to get the right media out there to tell everybody you're sorry. Your clients leave. You pay against your MSAs because you didn't do what you said. It's a trickle-down effect, right? So you're not just paying for the server that got breached. You're paying for the loss of reputation, the loss in time, the loss in revenue, and that goes on endlessly, especially if you're a public company. Then your stock value goes down. I mean, you've seen it. We've all seen these things happen. My boss is going to talk about something either today or tomorrow where, once upon a time, executives in leadership that made bad decisions, they got a golden parachute. Enron, right? There's been 2 executives in the past year or so that have went to jail for not handling their security breaches properly. Like, don't pass go, get the jumpsuit, go to jail. So they're beginning to crack down on that. And it's only going to get worse. Cybercrime is predicted to cost $8 trillion by the end of this year. It's a huge number. I'm going to put it in a way that I understand better. Cybercrime will outpace the drug trade in the United States this year. That's crazy. If that doesn't tell you some of the best hacker groups in the world, our nation states, China, Russia, all those guys. Right behind them, the cartels. The cartels employ people straight out of the NSA into their hacker teams because they're making $8 trillion off of it. Why would you not do that? If you're, my moral compass is okay today, right now, but $8 trillion, man, it begins to bend a little bit. You know what I mean? Please define we lost everything. We lost everything. What do you mean everything? One more time. Everything. We lost everything on that server. You've heard that. You hear that. You might hear it one day. What is your business really? We make gadgets. No. What is your business? Yeah, you make gadgets. But how do you make those gadgets? You make them with ones and zeros. Data. Data to your machines, data to your people, data to your client, data to the tax guy, data. Ones and zeros. If you make the best book bag in the world and you don't use data, a network, a server, the interwebs to do so, you'll never sell a book bag. Ones and zeros are critical for revenue. Period. Where is all this super important data and how and where does it move? Again, we're talking about our inventory. We're going back to that. If your business is not the book bag or the gadget and it's really the ones and zeros, and you rationalize how important those ones and zeros are, where's your data at? How does it move? Where does it go? In your network, out of your network? What's going on with it? If you didn't have it, you wouldn't have a business, so shouldn't you pay attention to it? How would you operate if it was gone? What would you do if the accounting server burnt down and you didn't have them backed up? How would you recover from it? How do you back your data up? When do you back your data up? Is it encrypted? Is it geostationary? Is it in different different locations? Is it encrypted in rest? How do you handle your data? What are you doing with it? Mentally list who you know has access to your centers of gravity. You decided what's most important in your network, your router, that server, your VPN concentrator, your cloud presence, your Docker container. Think about it. If you're in charge of that, if you're not, ask the guy that is and scare the shit out of him. But ask him who has access to that. Will they know? Do you know? For sure, 100%. Is the MFA enabled there? Can it be gotten to from outside your network? Do you have RDP ports open on your router? Do you know? You don't know. You got to go to inventory and find out. How and where is it backed up? Where's your data? Ask the same question. Where's our data? Where is all the HR data? Where is it backed up? When is it backed up? How do we get it back? What do we do if it's gone? Simple questions. Can you recover your center of gravity or centers of gravity in a single business day or less? Because most of you that have a business that requires telephones or email to interact. What happens when you just don't answer the phone all day? What happens if you don't return an email to a very upset person, client, whoever, other business, whatever? You just don't respond for a day or two. What happens? It's a domino effect of problems. It is a snowball going downhill. So every minute that you're not talking, engaged in recovering from a problem, because you've got your inventory, you grow into some tools and some platforms that help you further secure your network. You understand your centers of gravity, you've got those protected, you've backed up your data, your ones and zeros, which is your business, right? How soon, if it all burned down, could you recover? And how much would a week without your data be for your business? Not being able to do business for a week. In government opportunities there, how would it, during a hurricane, how would it affect you if your infrastructure was down for a week in the beginning of a hurricane? Can you imagine? Well, we don't even have anybody here to help us with this job. Right? That's the problem. So it's not if, it's when. So if you know that and you know what your centers of gravity are, and you make some OpEx and CapEx investments to get it all there, what you're really trying to, if you know it's going to happen, what you're really trying to shoot for, beyond protect yourself, of course, and know about it, of course, it's how can I get back up? How can I get back in business as soon as possible? Everybody knows you're going to get hit eventually. Large companies know it, everybody knows it. Accept it, accept the problem, and be the superhero that got hit. Be the company that got hit, or the organization that got hit. Talk about it on KPLC, and then say, but we're back up. This morning, Monday morning, 0800, we're back up. You're a superhero. When other companies have been down for weeks and went bankrupt, you're not those people. You guys are going to be here, so we're going to talk about some stuff. Again, I want to bring it down to a level that people can talk about. Like, look to history. Let's talk about cybersecurity and breach and business risk, like hurricanes. All right. We know we're going to have another hurricane. Most of us have all been affected by several. You know it's coming. And you do things every year to prepare for that. In some ways, small ways, big ways, but you do, right? Think about the business. You know you're going to be breached. What are you doing to prepare for it? What are you doing to recover from it? It's the same thing. But you got to get the insurance. You got to make sure you know a guy that's got some ice. You got to make sure all these things. You got to prepare. You got to have good neighbors, right? You got to know you got to expect bad and prepare for it. The prepared mind. That's what we're talking about, right? In business, at your home, with your family, disaster will come. What are you doing to mitigate it? If you know it's coming, and you know you're responsible for it, at home, with yourself, with your business, with your organization, and you do nothing. If nothing else, if you communicate it, if you don't even do that, who's responsible? Own it. Talk about it. Get in people's faces over it, politely, but communicate it. Mattress and soup cans. We talked about insurance before, right? We live in Southwest Louisiana. We know we're going to have a hurricane. There's wind-blown rain. There's rising water. There's busy-boo-boo. And there's wind. There's 17 kinds of ways that a hurricane causes damage. Lived it, right? How are you preparing for it from a financial standpoint? What are you doing to prepare the impact on your family, business, your organization from a cyber attack, hurricane, family, business, cyber? What are you doing to prepare for it? You've got to find some way to fund the incident response to get you whole again, to get your data recovered, right? Let's say you're a shop of 10 IT, we'll do 5. You're a shop of 5 IT professionals in a company of 2,000 employees in 5 locations. One guy's a really good security guy, the rest of them are really great IT people, one guy's your system guy. 2,000 machines get hacked, get it malware on. You gonna handle that? No. Insurance gives you the ability to go out and buy the army to come in and get you help. If you don't have insurance, you can't rebuild your house, you can't rebuild your company. Okay?
So cyber insurance, like regular insurance, on
No.
like reliability to like actually helping you, or do they actually help you?
We'll talk about that later. I'll just say that it's like every other insurance.
Okay.
It's about the kind of insurance you get from the people you get it from, who you talk to about what you need, etc. Qualitative versus quantitative, really big words. What does that mean is you're qualifying your risk. You're quantifying its cost, right? So we know there's some risk. There's a bunch of risk here. Okay, it looks pretty, pile of risk. How much does it really cost? The same thing you do with your home, you got to do with your business. You look at all your assets. You take pictures before the hurricane comes. You document it. You inventory. Same thing for business. The same thing for your infrastructure, your racks, your servers, your computer, your software, your connectivity, your fiber connections, all that. It's a part of your cyber infrastructure. It's got to be covered from natural disaster or disaster. Both disasters have to be covered, right? And then, of course, cover your bottom. That's the way you do that. And it's built on itself. Tidbit, if you go to insurance company, go, insure me, Seymour. Okay, what do you got? I don't know. Well, you got to have an inventory, and you got to do some things. You got to have some policies. You got to tell us what you got. Okay. I mean, so you got to start somewhere. Again, it starts with you got to know what you have. And then you can get all the way over there to making sure you can do business after the bad things happen. Putting it all together. Know what you, the picture, I'm parsing up now. Right? The journey of 1,000 miles, all right? I had to use it. Know what you have. Inventory, your software, your hardware, your network. Know what you have, know what you do, know what your business needs to operate. Define your centers of gravity. What's most important? The house is on fire. You have a grandson. You have your gun collection. Ooh. Grab the grandson, run back into the house, right? But you have to define your centers. Somebody's got to go first, right? Something's got to be most important. Define it. Understand your battle space. Each of you are being attacked every day. Each of you have different reasons. Your businesses are different. Your cultures are different. The way you operate is different. Hey, you know what? This guy's a little different than the last guy. Should we hack him? Never heard of that. You got to understand your battle space, right? What do you do? Are you healthcare? Are you finance? Are you the plants, industrial? Oil and gas, marine, right? That's why they call them, these verticals. And there are literally specific attacks designed for your vertical. If you know anything about MITRE attack surface, go check that out, okay? Because what you find is success breeds success. And if you see somebody that's successful, you build a thing kind of like them because you like that they're successful. So a successful medical business, guy got mad, left there, goes over and does successful NUCO medical business. He's just copying the way they've done success. So probably the same software, same platform, same systems. So these vulnerabilities and attack exploits kind of track through the vertical, right? Joe's Donuts does not have to worry about HIPAA, right? And vice versa. Maybe his center of gravity is grandma's donut recipe. He keeps it in the sink, right? HIPAA violations put you in jail. Understand your battlefield. Think like a bad guy. Shouldn't be hard for most of you. You look like bad guys anyway. So Just think like a bad guy. Put yourself in their shoes. Like, what would I do? How would I get in the door? What would I do to get access to what I want, right? How do I make that happen? Prepare and train to recover. You've done all the stuff. You've got a vulnerability program, you've got all the tools and gadgets, you've got your endpoints protected, you've got an MFA in place, you've got all the stuff, right? Turn it all off. Recover. Test it. Stress test it. Do an instant response. Take 8 hours of the month out of the month that you can do. You can handle it. Get all your departments involved and say, listen, we're going to pretend that our core router just blew up. And you don't have to turn it off if you don't want to. I think it's pretty cool if you did. But pretend it's gone and then do business. See how it affects your workflows, your people, your production, what happens and doesn't happen. What your contingencies if, right? Your server is down. Not really, but you're faking it. Run the exercise of getting the data out of the cloud, standing up a new virtual machine, and then seeing how fast it takes you to do that. Try it. Pretend. Bite the bullet and get insured. You got to do it. Do it smart. There's some guys back there that can probably talk to you about it. But you got to have it. You got to have it. It's no different than that. And it should be a part of your disaster mitigation plan for your overall organization. Somewhere, hopefully, there's a binder that has your disaster plan, right? The building catches on fire. Where are the exits? All your disaster planning is there. Most insurance companies require you to have something like that already. Coming to a theater near you, between state and federal regulations, whether you want insurance or not, you will have to have it. Just like what? Flood insurance. It's going to be the same problem. Get ahead of it. And to the lady's question up front, no, they're not just going to come in. 5 years ago, you could get a policy with cyber insurance and they wouldn't even ask if you had a computer. Then they lost their for a few years. Billions of dollars. Solar winds. Billions of dollars. Then they went and hired guys like me and they sold their soul and went and worked for an insurance company. Sorry if you go to any insurance company going here, okay? But they got smart. And they said, well, why are you giving this guy a policy? He doesn't, do you know what he had? Oh, we don't know what he wants. He was giving us the money and we were hedging our bets. We didn't ever have to pay him again. Well, that happened. So it's coming. So get ready for it. Questions? Come on. You're making me stand here and look stupid. Say to anybody. You.
I've got permission to turn around around.
What's that? No. I said fake it, pretend. All right, Chris says so, yeah.
Do you have any recommendations on inventory tracking software?
There's some out there. I'll give you my card and I'll email it to you. This is going to sound silly, but I mean, the first place to start is a spreadsheet, right? Now, when you say discovery, that's a different thing, right? There's a couple of tools out there that you can use that are open source that are really good. There are some templates for inventory management out there. A lot of this stuff, guys, you don't, if you don't have a big budget, right, and you want to be the hero, you want to just do it and then go show the boss, look what I did. Go to CISA's website. There is a ton of available information out there, right? Or we'll point you to places where you can get these templates, even policy templates, right? And then get involved in the forums. Reddit, I love Reddit. Yeah, it's got a bunch of crap and junk in there, but occasionally you'll find feeds where people, experts, professionals are talking about, hey man, what do you use for this, right? and it'll help you, right? And you don't have to break the bank. You really don't. But yeah, come get my car, or I'll leave my car here and email me and I'll help you out with it. The same thing with vulnerability stuff and risk management. We offer that at Global Data Systems. We've moved into a product that's more risk management versus one time a month we say how bad shit is for you. Now it's a program. It's a risk management program. It's got to have a hell of a lot more value, but that's really what you're looking for as well. Like, once upon a time, it was enough to say, yep, we need to patch those servers. Let's talk about it next month. Can't do that anymore, right? It's got to be an active exercise to understand your risk. And you can't do that by just looking at it once a month and having a discussion and then, what'd you get done? Nothing, we're busy. You got to do more than that. So.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first question is, how often do you do a tabletop or functional exercise to test your security in your systems?
I would do it every quarter at least.
Do you?
Yeah. Now, that's all relative. The funny thing about security is it's more voodoo than it is science in many ways, right? Look to do it ahead of holidays. Holidays are the most attacked times of year, right? So even if you only do it once a year, do it coming out in October. 1st of November. That way you're catching Christmas, New Year's, all the stuff. Do it so you're planning for it, right? They right now they're leaving the 4th of July alone, but they really like New Year's, they really like Christmas, they love wine. Your staff is bare bones, everybody's at home, you're sauced up on the eggnog. I am. Right? So you're not paying attention to anything. You don't half the people that know anything are not there, right? So these guys are assassins. They're as smart as we are and better paid, right? So they know the vulnerabilities in human beings, and they know that holidays is the best. What's the Black Friday thing that Amazon does, like Digital Monday or whatever that is? If you remember right, there's been a few breaches around that. Everybody's online. Everybody's haphazardly saying yes, buy. You get an email. Here's a free $2,000 Amazon. Yeah, oh shit. Boom. Let's go. Right. So I would if you can afford it, I'd do it every quarter. If not, if you can squeeze it out of everybody once a year, I'd do it end of October, middle of 1st of November.
So you know that ESF 17 was recently added to the list of emergency support functions.
Yeah, I'm on.
As you're on ours.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about hurricane with the other emergency support functions, we have what's called an IMAT team, or mutual aid agreements. So do you see any of those involved with cybersecurity? If there have been any breaches, attacks, or anything like in the response phase?
I haven't. He's like my brother, but my first cousin's husband is the vice chancellor at LSUA, Alexander. And they do some stuff up there. I don't think they're part of 5, but that's Alexander's out of it.
Yes.
Right.
What reason is
I think it's
I think they have some mutual aid packages, is like pre-written design policies and SOPs, right? We should. I think we should do.
Okay.
I think we should do a lot more of that. I think that we should engage. I mean, and it's just starting, right? And Charles is doing a great job of that. But I think we should convince at least a handful of our large industry players. Pick industry, hospital, plant, gadget factory, and beg them to do it so they can see the value in it and then write our SOPs, or just take what somebody else has done, the templates, because there are hundreds of them. And I think we should. And I think coming from the military, I I think this civilian world can learn a lot from government structure, because if anything else, it is detailed. You don't, A has to be B. You can't get outside the lines on that, right? So obviously it needs to be a little more modified so that it's consumable for civilians, but I think we should do a lot more of that, yeah. I think especially MSPs and tech businesses should be involved in that with ESF 17 groups.
I've had multiple research papers or whatnot, and a lot of it focuses on like hurricanes and other stuff
Yeah.
with cybersecurity, because you're vulnerable. You're not
But do this mind map right quick. What's the difference between a hurricane taking down your network and a cyber attack taking down your network? It's the same outcomes. It's the same cause and effect. It's the same need. It's data lost, and if you're saving it right in Austin, you can go buy a new box and stick it on there, and you're good. It's the same in my brain. At least my brain's wired though. It's the same stuff. We take the hurricane hyper serious, right? Do you see the same level of seriousness in people when they talk about cybersecurity and breaches? No, we don't see that.
And you keep implementing the trainings together. So like, we're used to hurricane training, but we're not used to like cyber stuff. It'll help with the mindset of like making it more hands-on where we can see it, and then the virtual more hands-on how it all operates together.
And there are some, I guess I'm gonna say this and I'll shut up, but there's, I don't know if you've ever heard of Black Hills Security, but they make some breach decks. They make some incident response card games, right? You're not spending any money. You're buying some cards. And it sounds kind of,
Yeah, gotta think about it.
there's a man right there. It sounds kind of silly, but it's very practical. Very practical. If you pay attention and you treat it a little better than Monopoly, and you actually go by the rules and you pay attention to it, and smart people, you begin to see the holes in your existing philosophies or how you plan to mitigate the problem, right?
Sorry, name again?
Backdoors and breaches, right? What's that?
The hurricane stopped, hackers don't.
Yeah.
Tabletop exercise.
Exactly. That's a good one. What if we were being hit by a hurricane every day, 365?
Yeah,
That's
possibility
what-
for exfil is really the only difference when your building burning down and
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'd all be nervous wrecks and alcoholics if there was a Gulf hurricane, 365. Just sitting there like, maybe today, I don't know. But that's what cybersecurity is. That's why I used to have really luscious hair, and that's all great. It's because of that kind of stuff. So that's all from me. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming.